guys, welcome back to my channel. Novice Nurse here, aka Pierre. I am so sorry that I didn't post a video last week. I just didn't feel like there was anything special to report. Basically just doing more of the same, looking for a job as a medical assistant. I've applied to quite a bit of jobs, a lot of OBGYN positions, some like regular I'm not sure, I guess, what kind of work, like, department I would be in. I guess just like the general, like, departments of like the hospital or something. A lot of hospitals, some doctors' offices, mostly hospitals, just because hospitals have more hours. In my classes, I've been doing really well. I just got one of my stats quizzes back. I got 100% on it. Like, I don't even know how I'm doing this right now. Registration opened last week for spring semester, right? So I only have 2 more prerequisites like left to get into the college that I'm like my first choice. So I'm only doing 2, and both those classes require lab. So Anatomy and Physiology 2 and lab, and Microbiology 2, just Microbiology and lab. So that's technically 4 classes altogether. The anatomy class is an online class, so technically I guess it's 3 classes. And I wanted to get them for night classes like 6:30 to like 9, so that I could work during the day as a medical assistant and leave my hours open and available. Okay, so I went to register for classes or whatever, right? And I already knew exactly what classes I wanted, what times I wanted, the section, all of that, right? And it denies me and says, oh, you haven't taken the prerequisites for this course. And I'm just thinking it's just like an error or whatever. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I go to school and I try to register at the school. And they tell me, oh, well, you can register for anatomy and physiology too, but you can't register for microbiology because you need biology as a prerequisite for the prerequisite. And I was like, wait a second. In the summertime, when I first enrolled in school, you guys told me that the prerequisite for microbiology is taking at least 1 anatomy and physiology. And I'm already taking that. So what do you mean? They're like, no, you need biology. And I was just like, so I have to take biology? I have to take another prerequisite? So I was like, damn, you know, that means what, I gotta take biology in the spring and then what, microbiology in the summer just so I can get into a fall class? I'm like, what the hell? So I was like pissed. But then luckily somebody said, well, if you just talk to the dean, they probably will waive it for you. I was like, really? So I went to my dean, very nice guy, he's African, and he basically, when I told him I wanted to not have to take biology, he gave me like a whole speech about why I should take biology. And basically it's like opening a book midway and reading from the middle to the end and not reading the first part and being lost, and you might get behind and you might not do well and blah 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 blah. And I was just like, no, I took a lot of biology concepts in my medical assistant class. I'm a fast learner. I am doing really well right now. I have straight A's in all my classes right now. Like, I was just like, please don't let me have to take this like extra prerequisite. Like, honestly, like, if I have to, I'll teach it to myself. Also too, like, I always was good in science, like in high school, even though I know this is not high school science. I'm aware, and I know it's been 10 years since I went to high school, but you know what I'm saying, I'm pretty good at science. I've always been pretty decent with science, and science comes before chemistry, and chemistry is the prerequisite for anatomy and physiology. So how did I get into anatomy and physiology without taking chemistry, but now I need biology? Like, what? You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, if I could catch up in my anatomy class, which actually did talk about chemistry, and I had no idea, I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot all of this, and I was able to catch up enough to do my anatomy class and get a decent grade on my like exam. I think I could do okay in my microbiology. Like, I've heard microbiology is pretty hard, but yeah, I'm ready for the challenge. Okay, I'm not trying to take another biology. That's the challenge I'm not trying to take, right? So nice of him. He said, well, let's just see what kind of power I have. I was like, okay. And he basically waived it for me, and now I'm in microbiology. So my schedule for next semester is I have microbiology, I don't remember which order it is, but basically Monday through Wednesday I have classes from 6:30 to 9:20, and then I'm free the rest of the week to work or do whatever, and also free during the day to work or do whatever. So that's nice. And so that's that. So also too, I want to let you guys know that which is also what I want to be talking about in this video, is I want to talk about interviewing and like how to interview for a medical assistant position. My director from my medical assistant program, like, she is so great. I need to leave a great review on Facebook. I keep forgetting to do it, but they are so great. They really care about their students. She's asked me to come in every Monday for like the last 3 weeks to like go over interview strategies, to apply to jobs, to help us through the application process. I'm gonna just give you some pointers on interview tactics that my professor gave me. Okay, so she gave me this packet. It's like this, and it just has like questions and like how to answer them. So I think this, how many questions does it have? And it has questions to ask them on the back. It has 20 questions, 21 questions. I don't think they're gonna be asking me that many, but we'll see. So obviously most jobs ask you, tell me about yourself, right? And so what it says here is, this is a tricky question because it's open-ended. Rather than sharing any of your personal life, try to keep focused on the professional skills that you bring to the organization. For example, I recently completed my medical assistant training at the John Doe School and served in an internship at John Doe Pediatrics for 3 months. In my internship, I had the opportunity to work with young patients. I talked with them, show them to the exam rooms, help them stay calm before their immunizations. I especially enjoy the clinical aspects of medical assisting, such as taking vital signs and patient histories. I would like to bring these skills to your practice. That's like a good way of saying things. Obviously you can narrow that down some, right? That's, I mean, obviously you guys are all gonna have your own unique version of this, but this is just like a general version so that you can like start thinking about what you might want to say in an interview. I have my own version for myself just because I don't really have a big background in the medical field, but I want to show people that I'm serious about this particular field. So yeah. Number 2 is, how much experience do you have as a medical assistant? So for this question, simply describe how many years you have worked as a medical assistant and the facilities where you have worked. Explain what your responsibilities were. If you received any promotions or recognitions, be sure to discuss them. If you are new to the field, describe your education program, the skills you learned, and your internship. Example, I recently served as an intern medical assistant at Jane Doe Medical Center from January to March of this year. The internship was 180 hours. It was the conclusion of my 1-year training program at John Doe Career School. I have graduated now and I'm looking forward to finding full-time employment. All right. So what are your strengths? The next one, 3. What are your strengths? It's always good to be prepared for this classic interview question. When you discuss your strengths, try not to brag. Man, I've always been told you're supposed to brag, but that's in the art field. In the art field, you're supposed to brag, but whatever. Simply share some of the clinical skills that you feel strongest in, along with your interpersonal skills. For example, my clinical skills are my biggest strength. My instructors told me my phlebotomy skills were very strong. I feel confident when doing blood draws or injections. My people skills are also one of my strengths. I am good at making people feel comfortable. All right, number 4. What are your weaknesses? When it comes to your weaknesses, try not to use the word weakness in your response. Instead, explain your weakness as an area where you are hoping to improve. For example, I prefer clinical responsibilities over the front office administrative tasks, but I feel comfortable with technology and I am confident I can learn your administrative procedures quickly. So yeah, so what I've always learned as a general rule when someone asks you your weakness is you're supposed to like kind of say, like hint on your weakness, but then bring it around and bring it back to a positive. For example, like I'll just let you guys know what my weakness is. My weakness is I sometimes like overanalyze. Like I will literally overanalyze something like to the point where I'm like, wait, what do I do? Is it this or should I do that? You know what I'm saying? So I could say, you know, too much detail. When I find that I'm doing something, I just like to bring it back and analyze it from a bigger picture. That's a way to like basically tell somebody what your weakness is, but tell them how you deal with your weakness. Like how you deal with your weakness. Like, for example, I have a lot of anxiety, and how I deal with my anxiety is I plan ahead. I overly plan out my day or my week or my month or my year, and that helps me to not feel anxious and not like freak out when, like, I don't wait till the last minute because I don't like feeling anxious. So I could also say that in an interview, right? Number 5, what computer skills do you have? Tip, before the interview, jot down the names of the software programs you have used so that you can remember them when the question comes up. Example, I have received training in electronic health record software as well as all the Microsoft Office programs. Our school also provided training on software for medical billing and coding. Number 6, do you have experience with electronic health records software? Most employers like to hire candidates who have experience with electronic health records, EHR software. Be sure to remember the names of the software programs you trained on, as well as any that you have used in previous jobs. Example, my training program used a simulation software that contains many of the same elements as the commercially used software. At my internship, the office used eClinicalWorks, so I had some exposure to that program. For me, I didn't do an externship or internship, so I didn't actually physically do these things, but we did learn about them in my class and go over it and all that. So for me, I would say in my medical assistant program, we were taught charting, and I have a strong understanding of how to do these programs. I have a strong design software background and typing speed of 40, and I learned computer skills very quickly, something like that. Number 7, do you have any experience in medical billing and coding? It says, be sure to explain your experience, including the types of insurances you have billed and whether you have worked with Medicaid and Medicare. If you are new to the field, describe the billing procedures that you learned during your medical assistant training program. For example, in my medical assistant training program, we learned about different billing systems as well as how to process claims with private insurance companies, Medicaid and Medicare. We also learned about medical coding for different procedures and diagnoses. We studied ICD, 10 and 9, and CPT. Number 8, what can you do as a medical assistant to make sure you are following HIPAA protocol? So it says, it is not uncommon for an interviewer to test your knowledge about certain important areas. Be sure you brush up on HIPAA as it applies to medical assistants. Example, we were trained on HIPAA, and in my internship, the medical assistants were careful about patient privacy. We used only patients' first names in the waiting room, made sure the exam room door was closed before any... You know what's crazy? When I go to the doctor, I think they use my whole name. I feel like they say Miss Green or Miss Bagwell Green or Pierre Bagwell Green. Maybe they don't use my whole name. I don't know, but I know they do alternate between the two, so I don't know. But anyway, make sure the exam room doors closed before any discussion began, and make sure clients' charts were kept out of view of others. And of course, we learned never to discuss patients' cases except with their healthcare providers. I learned in my class that it is your responsibility as a medical assistant or any healthcare provider to make sure that, like let's say a family member came with like the patient and you have to remove them from the room. You need to make sure that they're not in earshot of the room you're in or where you are located, because if they hear what you say, even though you removed them, it's still your responsibility and it's your fault, and yeah, you can get lots of trouble. So anyway, do you have experience in front office responsibilities? Are you comfortable answering phones? Many medical assistants do a combination of clinical and administrative work. Be ready to discuss the office tasks that you have done or have been trained to do. For example, in my training program, we learned a lot of front office tasks. We were trained in Microsoft Office and learned how to use medical billing software. Our program focused on communications and customer service skills so that we would have the professionalism to work with patients in person and on the phone. Number 10, what phlebotomy training have you had? Are you comfortable with drawing blood? The employer wants to be sure if you're not nervous about blood draws. Please explain your training in phlebotomy. If you have experience already, discuss how long you have been performing blood draws. For example, I am comfortable with blood draws and did well in my training program. I have not had the opportunity to do blood draws yet on a real patient experience, but I have performed many phlebotomies in my classes during my training. Honestly, I wouldn't even say I have not had the opportunity to do blood draws on a real patient. I wouldn't even say that. I would just say I am comfortable with blood draws. I did well in my training program. I have performed many phlebotomies in my training, and just leave it like that. I wouldn't even talk about not having done anything. You don't say that. Number 11, have you taken patient histories and vital signs in your previous job? If these were some of the responsibilities in your previous job, you can explain your role. If not, explain that you have been trained in these areas. For example, at my career school, I was trained in blood pressure, weight, temperature, and pulse. We practiced these in the lab at school and did a few community events where we got to take vital signs on members of the public. At my internship, I had the opportunity to measure the vital signs on some patients. In school, we also learned about taking patient histories, and I was able to help with this during my internship. Number 12. Have you worked with patient prescriptions? Some medical assistants may have experience with calling in refills or using an electronic system to place refill orders. Simply explain the experience you have. For example, we learned about refilling patient prescriptions in my career school, but I have not had the on-job experience with this. I would be happy to learn the system you use here at your office. Again, I would be careful about saying I haven't had the job experience with this, unless they specifically ask it. I would just be like, you know, I learned about refilling patient prescriptions in my career school, and I would be happy to learn your system that you have here in this office, and call it a day. Unless they specifically ask you, do not say, oh, I don't know, I never did this before. Like, don't do that. Number 13, are you certified in CPR, first aid, and AED? Tip, before the interview, be sure to check if your certifications are still valid. Remember that the Red Cross's first aid, CPR, AED certifications last only 2 years, so it's important to set a reminder to get recertified after 2 years. I am certified in HIPAA, and I am certified in CPR or BLS. First aid, CPR, and AED training was part of my medical assistant training, and my Red Cross certifications are still valid for 20 more months. I understand that I need to take review courses every 2 years to get recertified. Number 14, describe a difficult situation in the workplace and how you handled it. I hate this question because I really don't even know what to say, because I've had difficult situations at jobs, but nothing I want to talk about. You know what I mean? Like, not anything. Either it wasn't that remarkable or nothing I want to talk about. But here's one. Think of an appropriate situation and be sure your story is honest. Emphasize the actions that you took to get the situation under control. The employer wants to know that you handled difficult situations with professionalism and courtesy. Example. During my internship, one of the male patients was uncomfortable having a female intern in the room, and he asked me to leave. My supervisor and I apologized, and I left the exam room right away. Later, the patient complained to the front desk, so my supervisor and I approached the patient. I explained that I was in training and my internship was a chance for me to get the on-job experience to make me a better medical assistant. We agreed that my supervisor should have asked his permission before I came into the exam room. By understanding the patient's point of view, the patient seemed to be satisfied when he left the office. Number 15, how would a former employer describe you? Most people answer this question with general terms such as reliable, organized. These are important traits, but also try to think of your traits as they apply to being a medical assistant. For example, my performance evaluations at my previous job were strong. My supervisor thought I was good at scheduling and that I helped to keep the day's appointments on time. She thought I was organized and efficient and was able to prioritize the most important tasks that needed to be completed each day. For example, for me, at one of my first jobs at a college, the first time, it was my first time being a graphic designer at a company, and I move pretty quick. Like, I get things done, okay? So I was moving real quick. I was getting things done. And my art director told me, you're making me look bad because you are doing everything like way too fast. Like, you're done. Like, you're done with the month. Like, I haven't done any of this stuff. How, like, what? Like, you are. And so I wouldn't say to an employer, oh, my ex-employer told me that I made him look bad. I wouldn't say that, but I would definitely say my employer trusted me and my sensibilities when it came to my assignments and my projects, and he always said that I worked so fast and he couldn't believe how quickly I learned the assignments, and very quickly and early on he trusted me to complete tasks without even his writing off on it, because he trusted me that much. I could say something like that, right? Okay, so number 16, what do you like most about being a medical assistant? Employers often ask this question to gauge whether you are someone who enjoys your job and wants to perform well on the job. Simply explain what you like and tell why you find these responsibilities to be rewarding. For example, my favorite part of being a medical assistant is working with different patients who come into the office. I like being the friendly face that patients see when they come back into the exam area. I want patients to enjoy coming into the office, and I want to represent my office well. Number 17. What do you like the least about being a medical assistant? I don't think a job's gonna ask this, but they might. This is a difficult question because you should never complain in a job interview. You can simply explain that you like all the responsibilities and would like to have additional responsibilities as you gain more job experience. For example, there aren't really any parts of the job that I don't like. I like to take on a variety of responsibilities so that I become better at all aspects of being a medical assistant. My hope is that I gain more experience. I will be given new, new and different responsibilities. Yeah, when they ask you negative questions, you're supposed to like not avoid the question, but kind of just like tiptoe around it and then bring it back to something positive. Number 18, where do you see yourself in 5 years professionally? This question gives the employer a chance to see how long you might stay with the organization. If you have hopes of going back to school the next 5 years, it is okay to say this since it will show your employer you have ambition. It is also okay to ask the employer about any possibilities for advancement at the organization over the course of 5 years' time. But be sure to strike a balance between sounding too ambitious, wanting to advance right away, and not ambitious enough, not motivated to improve yourself. For example, in 5 years, I would hope to still be working here. If there are opportunities for high levels of responsibility here. I would like to look into them. Eventually, I hope to go to nursing school, but I plan to wait until I have had more work experience. So for me, I'm already in prerequisites, right? So if they said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm currently in pre-nursing classes, and I will be applying to nursing school in the near future. And so, you know, I would hope to, in the future, to become, to escalate as in the medical field and become a BSN RN at this facility. And they're like, oh, great. Yeah, we definitely offer that. And we definitely love to help you with your education. Meaning, AKA, they're gonna pay for it. But anyway, number 19, are you doing any continuing education or other classes? Employers may want to know whether you are continuing to improve yourself. This shows potential employers that you are dedicated to your field. I joined the American Associate of Medical Assistants and which is basically AAMA, which is what that's what made me certified. And I have been looking at their continuing education programs. I just finished my training, so I haven't signed up for anything yet, but I understand that continuing education is an important part of working as a medical assistant. For this question, I probably wouldn't have to do, because I pretty much already said, like, I'm continuing my education, and yeah, eventually I'm gonna become a BSN, and yeah, eventually, yeah, sure, I'll get my MA, like, why not? My MSN, that's what I meant. 20, why do you want to work here? Before the interview, make sure you learn as much as you can about the employer. Reading their website is usually the best way to do this. Once you've done your research, think about the professional reasons why you want to work for this organization. So for this, the best way to do this is to go to their mission statement on their website. So the example here is, working at Johnson's Pediatrics would be a good fit for me because I enjoy working with children, and I would be able to use the clinical skills I have learned in my recent training program. I would also like to take a challenge of working in a practice with 11 doctors because I would learn many different working styles. Note, you should avoid saying any personal reasons such as the pay is good or because it's an easy commute for me. Duh, that's like common sense. Actually, I guess it's not common sense, because I did hear someone say, well, I would just say because I need money. I heard someone say this, like, never say that in an interview, guys. Never say that. Even if you're applying to, like, McDonald's, like, I just wouldn't say it. It's just, don't say it. What makes you the best candidate for this position? With this question, you want to be sure you do not sound arrogant. Which is crazy, because literally I've been told my whole career, you need to sound like arrogant. You need to basically, this is the time to, like, launch yourself. But I've also had experiences, I have had experiences with interviews in the past where the person interviewing me felt threatened by me because they knew that I was overqualified for even their position. That's happened before, and I didn't get the job because one person was just honest with me and told me I was overqualified for the position, and they knew I would outgrow the position very quickly. And then another person just never called me back, even though they told me, oh my God, you would be great for this position. Yeah, oh my God, you'd be great. We'd love to have you. And then never heard back. So yeah, but I already knew. I was like, anyway, you can start by reiterating your professional skills and your people skills that you would bring to the job, and end by explaining why you are very interested in being a part of the organization. For example, I am a strong candidate because of my clinical skills and my communication skills. I feel confident handling the tasks that are shown in the job description, and I think my people skills would help your patients to feel at ease and comfortable during their appointments. I am good at working on a team, and I believe I would be a dependable member of your staff. So those are all the questions that interviewers would be asking and how you could answer them. And on the back, it says impressive questions to ask an interviewer. 1, can you describe a typical day in this type of role? 2, how long have you been at this company and what makes you stay? I find that's like the best question, and honestly I would save that question for last, because a lot of people who are interviewing you, for one, you can learn a lot about the company, a lot about them, especially if they're about to be your boss, by asking them like, what made you, how did you get this position? What was your path? Like, it's interesting. Like, sometimes it's really interesting, and people, like, they like to tell you their stories, and it shows that you really are interested. They're like, oh, like, you want to know what I did? Okay, like, people like that. 3, how would you describe the work environment and corporate culture? 4, what are some of the goals for the company in the short and long term? 5, how would my performance be measured? 6, what type of career opportunities may open up down the road for a person starting out in this type of position, assuming they perform well? 7, what are some of the company's initiatives regarding learning and development? So yeah, so that is the packet that my director from my medical assistant class gave me to go over to help me with my interview skills. So it's very helpful, and I thought that was very nice of her to put that together for us. So that's just to help you guys out. I'm just like passing it along to help you guys out if you guys are curious about like how to answer these questions. I hope that was helpful. That's it for this video, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.